So we working? Can you see the meters? All right. So good evening, everybody. Tonight we're going to see something amazing. Neil Brandt is going to turn a pencil box. By that, it's going to be, he's going to explain it, but it's basically a box that holds pencils. But it's with a twist. Neil, take it away.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I'm going to talk about Bensel boxes, Brand's Bensel boxes today. So I got the idea from AAW. Can you do the overhead camera, please? Okay. So there's where I got the idea. Is everybody a member of AAW? Is anybody not a member of AAW? Okay, then I'm not going to advertise for AAW. So anyway, inside here there's a 2-page article written by Beth Ireland on how to make these pencils. And I got this and I thought, oh, that's cute. I kind of had it sitting on the table, and my daughter came over and visited, and she said, oh, are you going to make those? You got to make those. So I had to make one. And it turned out it was actually kind of a lot of fun, so I would encourage you to try it. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to tell you basically how it's described in the journal here, but I'm also going to tell you some variations that I do that are a little bit different from how they're done. So let me go ahead and show you some. I've got 3 of them here that I'll pass around. I'll put these here. That's one that, the one in the middle here, this one that I'm putting down right now, is one made like Beth Ireland suggests making them, and these 2 are the ones that I make a little bit differently. So I'll pass those around. You can look at them. There's a lid. I have them where you pull the eraser off for the lid. Beth Ireland suggests making the lid at this joint here instead, which I didn't do, but you could do it either way. So I'm going to go ahead and pass these around. You'll notice the main difference, I'll go back here, you'll notice the main difference is this looks quite a bit different from that. The ferrules look a little bit different, and I'll explain the difference in a little while. So I'll just start them right here. You can pass them together or separate them. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to get started on the wood part of the pencil. There's 3 parts of the pencil: the wood part, the ferrule, which is the metal part, and the eraser. So I'm going to start with the blank. Now, what Beth Ireland suggests is that you get a longer blank and you turn the whole thing at once, then cut it in 3 pieces. But I don't do it that way, and I'll explain more later why. Let's see. So the first thing I have to do is start with the blank. Now, if you notice this blank, is really, not used to this lay, there we go. 2 2x4s glued together. Here's another one here. Let me hold it up here. Can you, here you go. Can you see that there's a line here? The reason I do that is because if you look at a real pencil, that's how they're made. There's 2 pieces of wood, they're glued together. So I thought, well, why not do it that way? That way you see the line, and you'll notice that in the pencils that are going around. And the reason I use 2x4s is because I'm cheap. But you could use any wood you want. Actually, the 2x4s are nice because it makes it light, and it is inexpensive. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is make this round. I'm going to try to remember to always wear my face shield. If I don't wear it, you might want to remind me. Right. When I'm not turning, I'll try to remember to do that. Okay. Oh, maybe if I plugged it in. Where's the plug? Is this it here? Okay. Okay, let's see if it works now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I just want to make this round. the size of the blank is approximately, it's a little under 3 inches by 3 inches. The reason for that is the 2x4 is 1.5 inches, and I had to plane them to get it so I could get a good glue fit. So it's a little bit under 3 by 3. Okay, so I'm just going to make it round first. Whoa. And I'm just using a spindle roughing gouge. Okay, I'm going to make it just a little bit smaller. There. Okay, it's approximately a cylinder, close enough. What I want though is hexagonal shape, like this, like that. Okay, so what I have to do is put facets on this, 6 facets. So I need to mark where to put them first. Now, to do a hexagon, if you remember from high school geometry or something, there's a simple way to do this. If you have the radius, for me too, but I've been thinking about math since then a little bit. Anyway, I teach at math at UNT. So what I want to do is set this for the radius. Once I set this for the radius, I can just go around and get it. I'll show you what I mean in a second. So let's see. I think I'll go ahead and mark a circle here. Now I need to measure to see what the radius is. And it's 66 millimeters. So that means I need to set this for half of that. Let's see. Maybe I can do it right here. So I need to set this for, let's see, what's half of 66? Sounds like 33. 22? Okay. So I'll set this for 33. As close as I can. 30. Okay, that's pretty close. Let's see how that works. So all you do is start at any point you want. So I'll start here. And then you just mark around. So I put the point where the last line was, make the next line. Put the point where the last line was, make the next line. It's easier to do when you don't have people staring at you. And with any luck, should come out pretty close. I'm off just a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about how much I'm off. I'll fix that in a second. Now what I'm going to do is just mark a straight line across here. Oh yeah. You guys really should loosen this up a little bit. So for each one of these marks, I'll just draw a straight line. Put this one like right here. Here. Okay, so I've got 6 straight lines. Oh, I don't have 6. I missed one. All right, well, now I have 6. So I have 6 straight lines across there, approximately equally spaced. So now, what Beth Ireland suggests you do is just trim this off for the 6 faces. She suggested using a rasp, but I think it's easier to use a planer or a hand plane. That's what I've used. And I already have one mounted here, so I'll use this one. It's already marked. So basically what I'm going to do is just plane across here. Should have done this first. Gotta give myself some blade. That's good enough. And this table is not the best to do it on. But you just plane it, and it doesn't take long before you're pretty close.
Sorry, that's probably me.
Oh, well, thank you for holding it. Yeah, if you have a better table, it works a little better. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm not going to go ahead and plane all the sides, but you do that. You do it on 6 sides, and when you do, you wind up with something that looks like this. Okay? So there it's all planed and ready to go. So, next step is to make this look like this, where it's hollow and you have tenons on the end. So, the first thing I'm going to do is mark centers. Since I'm using 2 pieces of wood, this, by the way, if you look at this one I just did here, center's already marked because I used the centers here. This one's not marked. Why is that? Oh, I don't want to scare anyone. Okay, so why isn't this one marked? If you look at it, there's no marks here. The reason is because I don't do it that way at home. Let me describe how I do it at home. So, okay, here's what I do. I start with a block that looks like this. Let's do an overhead. And I make it a certain size. The size I make it is the size of this rectangle. Now I made that rectangle on a 3D printer, and I made it so it's 66 millimeters by, I don't remember what the other, 57.2 millimeters. I do that because that way I make them a standard size and makes it very simple to make these hexagons. So basically I cut it this size first. I use this rectangle as a jig on my table saw. I cut that out. Now here's what I want to show you. So overhead again, please. If you have a rectangle and you have the ratio height to width, the proper ratio, and that ratio is 0.866. So if your width is like 1, then the height should be 0.866, and that's really square root 3 over 2. If you do that, here's what happens. And I don't know if this will show or not. It doesn't show very well. But if you look at it, there's a rectangle, and on top there's a hexagon. And that's what this picture shows here. So basically all I have to do is take my blank, not this blank, but the other one, which is somewhere here. Where did I put it? I just had it a second ago, the rectangular blank. No, this is it. Okay, I thought this was the square one. I already turned it around. Okay, this is it. So all I have to do is make 4 cuts in it. One here, one here, one here, one here. So how do you make those cuts? Well, here's what I do. I used a 3D printer and printed this little shape here. So this has the right length and the correct angle here. So I set my fence on the saw, I put this against it, my saw blade should be there. Okay, so all I do is I take my piece, I run it through, turn it around, run it through, turn it over, run it through, and I wind up with exactly this. So it's a much simpler way to do it. There's no hand tools which some people love, but I don't love. And it comes out the same each time. I always get the same shape. Is that clear how that works? Okay. And here I've got the dimensions. You want to go overhead again? So this shows you the distance from the fence to the blade is 0.75, 3/4 times the width that you have here. So if you want to do it a different dimension, this tells you how to do it. Okay, so anyway, however you get to the hexagon is fine. If you do it by hand, that's fine. If you want to do it on the table saw, that's fine. But since I did this on the table saw, I don't have the center marked. So how do I find the center? Well, you can draw diagonal lines. That would work. Or you can do what I do. I used a 3D printer, and I printed a hexagon out, just the right size. And it's got a hole in the center. And that hole is the center of the hexagon. So using this 3D printer, it really makes it pretty easy to make these. I've got these jigs, so it's just very simple to mark these. So okay. So I've got centers marked. First thing I want to do is put a tenon in so I can use a chuck. Okay, so tenon. I don't. Yeah. I could put them there. I just haven't thought about doing it. I didn't think there'd be that much interest in it, really. So, okay. I will try to do that then. Okay, so I need to put a tenon on, so I just use a tenon maker that I seem to have forgotten. So I'll use a skew. I have dovetail jaws, so I'll make it dovetail. Should be about right. Yeah, notice this tore this up a lot. You see a lot of, I don't know, can you see that there's, so that doesn't matter because this is where the point's going to be, so it'll all be come off anyway. So I don't really care about that. For this side. So now I'm going to switch and put the chuck in. Oh, and the goal here is to make it look like this. So I want to have this where the ferrule will fit, and I want to have it hollowed. I'm just not quite used to this lathe yet. Okay. I'm going to put this on the center mark there. So that I make sure I get it centered. Okay. Okay, so I think what I'll do first is make it fit a ferrule. Now, these ferrules, guess how I make them? 3D printer. The reason I do that is I think they look better. If you look at a pencil pencil has wood, it has a rubber, well, some kind of rubber kind of material for eraser, and it has a metal ferrule. And I think a 3D printed one actually looks better than the than the wooden one. And if you looked at the ones I was passing around, there's one that's silver that Charlie has here. That's the wooden one. And if you're good at carving, maybe you can make them look better than I can, but that's about as good as I can make it look. Whereas this, I don't have to do the hard work. The printer does it. So I like to use these 3D printed ones. So what I'm going to do is first make a tenon that fits this so I can glue them in eventually. Okay, now I should have, oh, here it is. So what I'm going to do is see how much this inset is to the shoulder here. Okay, and I'm going to mark this. So that I know how big to make it. I want it so it just fits in there and doesn't leave a gap. If you look at the pencils I passed around, I should have mentioned this before, one of them has a gap between the wooden part and the ferrule, and that's because I made the tenon a little bit too long. So that's why I'm marking it here. All right, now in order to avoid these splinters, what I'm going to do first is use the skew chisel and cut a little notch in there. Okay, this is moving up and down a little bit. It doesn't matter if it's a little bit. I think it'll be fine. If it's too much, then the ferrule won't look quite right sitting on the wooden pencil. So all I'm doing is going in straight, and then I'm going in an angle to get a little more material out, go in straight, then do a V-cut. And I'm going in straight. Let's see where we are. Main thing is I want to get it below, so I've cut all the fibers along each edge. See, I'm getting a nice clean cut there. I need to cut a little bit more here because I still have some fibers left. So let's go a little deeper here before I use parting tool. I can get a little bit off here. It should be pretty close now. Okay, so I've cut through all the faces, so now I won't have to worry about splintering. So now I'll just use a parting tool and try to get it down to this diameter. I've made enough of these that I have some idea of how far I need to go. I may be getting close there, so I'll check it. Of these things I don't need. I'm going to be using. Guess I do need this one. Okay, so I've got just about a smidgen to go. So I'm going to cut it about a half of a smidgen. It should be close then. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a taper on the edge there. Probably helps to have this down when now it can be up, of course. Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, it looks to me like there's just a little gap all the way around here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can see it's kind of dark there. It looks to me like it's a bit of a gap. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit more off of this. So, oh, and I meant to bring some sandpaper and just sand it down, but that's okay. I'll just take this. This is annoying. Okay. So I'm just going to take the spindle gouge and do a straight cut across, just a tiny little bit. There. That should work. Let's try it. It's a nice snug fit. It's tight up against. That's exactly how I want it. So that's what I need there. Now the next step is to hollow it. And I hollow it just by using a Forstner bit. No. No, she uses everything wood. It's all wood. That's one of the big differences. I mean, I use a 3D printer for this. I use a 3D printer for my jigs. I use a table saw to cut the hexagons. But she doesn't. Okay, so what I would do, and I'm not going to hollow this because drilling is boring, and I don't want to bore everyone. But basically, I would stick this here. I do want to say a little bit about it, though. So I would just put this in here, and well, maybe I'll start boring. Okay, so one thing about the boring, you want to make sure that you're boring this this is 1.5 inches. I make 1.5 inch hole. You don't want it too smaller than that. Why don't you want it too much smaller than that? You don't want it too much smaller than that because I'm going to bore all the way into here. And I want to be able to get is this called the quill? Is that what it's called? The quill has to go inside the hole or else I can't go far enough. So I think I don't know what this one is, maybe 1.25 inches, I don't know. Whatever it is, you want to make sure you're drilling a little bit bigger than that so that you can drill in all the way. Or have an extension on your bit. Lift this now. Okay, I'm not going to drill all the way. That's enough. You get the idea. And that's the end of this step once you get it drilled. So the next thing is I'll take it off and I'll paint it. So let's pretend that I've drilled it and painted it, and here it is. Okay? Here, you can pass it around if you want. Okay, so next thing is I want to mount it this time. So this is the tenon I was using here when I hollowed it. But I'm going to turn it around now and mount it this way. Even though this is straight and this is a dovetail, doesn't really matter because I'm not going to do much with it this way. But I'll mount it this way. And what I'm going to do is sharpen the pencil. Now, you could skip this step, but it would be pointless to skip this step. No, I couldn't. Okay. Yes, the pencil box. Yes. Okay, so all I have to do is just cut it at an angle. So I'll do that. Again, I'm just going to use a spindle gouge. Just cut it at an angle. Let's see. I did tighten that, didn't I? Doing things in front of people, you don't want to make a mistake. Okay, that's good. So, cut at an angle here. Okay, one thing I forgot to do, it doesn't matter, I don't think, because I think I know anyway, But you always want to measure how far you drilled here, because you don't want to go through. And if you drilled up further here, you can make it sharper. If you drilled closer, you want to make it less of an angle. So I'm just going to guess, because I didn't measure it. Okay, you can almost finish it with the live center there, but for the last little bit, I'm going to have to take it away. And the support's back here, so you have to be careful. You know, it could come off the lathe if you're not careful. So just kind of take it easy, and it works okay. I've only had one come off. Let me talk a little bit about that. It came off the lathe and it slammed up against here, put a big dent in it, so I got to throw it away. And I got to thinking, people chew pencils. So, so what I did is I took an Allen wrench, ground it down a little bit to make it look like a tooth imprint, and I made a chewed pencil. So if you make a mistake, that's fine. you can chew it. That's all right. You can, what'd you say? I could use, yeah, if Grandma doesn't catch me. So anyway, that's what this is. And this reminds me, did you read this thing in the paper about, they dug up, oh no, that's the other one. Oh yeah, there was this guy that had a pencil and he claimed it was Shakespeare's. It belonged to Shakespeare years ago. But Shakespeare chewed his pencil a lot. So they couldn't tell if it was a 2B or not 2B. Okay, let's finish sharpening the pencil. Sorry. So I'm just going to be a little careful here. I should have done a little more here before I took it off. Okay, there we go. It doesn't have to be perfectly sharp because pencils are only real sharp right after you sharpen them. After you use them a couple times, they're dull. So you can make it dull if you want, or you can make it sharp. So now, that's a pretty good surface. I'm not going to worry about sanding or anything. You usually don't have to. I mean, you don't sand after you sharpen a pencil, do you? So, all right, so here's what I'm going to do. I have a paint pen. This is a Tombow. It's one I like. It's black. So I'll just make the lead. And nobody knows it doesn't go all the way through. And then I'm going to put a little bit of wax on because it tends to come off if you don't. So it's just carnauba wax. Just going to put it over the paint. You can put it over the whole thing if you want, but I don't. I just put it over the paint. Just leave it raw wood because when you sharpen a pencil, you don't finish the sharpened lathes on, so I have to do that. You don't finish the sharp part of the pencil, so I'm not going to do this one either. Okay, so that's all you do for the wooden part. Let's take this off now. Another thing nice about doing this on a 3D printer, notice I fitted this on this ferrule, but it should fit just as well on this one. So if you decide, use whichever one you want. So when I glue these together, I just use epoxy. Now, if you're using wood, of course, you'd want to use wood glue probably. Okay, so question is, how do you make this piece if you're using wood? All right, so what I do is I start with a blank, and I'd been using two 2x4s glued together, just the same as before. I have had a little problem with that. I've had some crack, like this one I noticed is cracked, so I'm going to use maple. So I'm going to put it on center. Let's see, how do you, there we go. What's that? Oh. Okay, so let's see. I'm using the maple one here, so I'll find the center. Put the points in. Okay, so I'll make it round. Okay, I think it's round. So how big do you make it? So my question is, when you have this, there's two diameters. There's the diameter across from faces. You have the larger diameter, which is across from the corners. So how big should you make it? I didn't know when I first made these. I thought, well, I'll make it about halfway between. So I made it about halfway between. When I put it on, it just didn't look right. So what I learned from that was you want to make it the larger diameter. So make it the diameter from corner to corner, not from face to face. Okay? So I think that last one I did was 66. Wasn't that what I said? So I'll make it that even though I don't have it made here, but it doesn't really matter because I'm just showing you how to do it today. Oh, I've got a little flat on that, so I need to take a little more off. Let's see what it is. I don't know. I don't have to make it exactly 66, but 66.5, close enough. But normally you would make it the same, as close as you can get it. Actually, this is a little bit high there. Let me just take a little bit more off there. And actually, it's better to have it a little bit bigger here because what I'm going to do is put a tenon on it, and then I'm going to turn it around, and if it doesn't run quite square, I'll have to take a little more off anyway, so that's fine. Okay, so I'm putting a tenon on. Oh, and the size of this, make it whatever size you think looks good for a ferrule. I think these are, about 2 inches. So about 2 inches is good for a pencil this size. Okay, so I got a tenon, I'll turn it around. I don't like the way that's situated. Let's see, knockout bar. Okay. That's running pretty good, pretty true. So I'm not going to take any more off. It's close enough. So what I'm going to do first is mark where I'm going to make the edges. I'm going to have to part this off, so put a mark here so when I'm putting the stuff on the inside, I know how big I have. Actually, that's not really real true. Maybe I better chew it up. So I'll chew it up first. Ooh, don't want to do that. There we go. All right, so I'm going to put a mark on this end, mark on this end, and that is how big I'm going to make it. So, if you look at a pencil, you've got grooves going two ways. You've got grooves going around the pencil, and you've got grooves going back and forth. Around the pencil, no problem. Back and forth is a pain in the neck. So let's do the ones that go around first. So I'm just going to use a point tool, and I'll make 3 on both sides. Okay, so that's the easy part. Now I have to make the grooves go in the other direction. So first thing I'll do is I'll decide where they go. I'll put them between here and there. Now what Beth Ireland suggests doing is using hand tools and just carve straight lines across there. But I'm not talented enough to do that, so I do it a little different way. First thing, I want to mark where they go here. Now, how many you make is up to you, but you want to have them equally spaced. So what I'm going to do, I meant to bring some tape, but I don't have it with me. That's okay. No. I took a strip of paper. I'll put a mark here. And that's where I'm going to start. Come around. So I'm starting here. And I'll put a mark where this ends. And so the distance from here to this, from the end to this mark is the circumference. So all I have to do is measure that. And then I use metric. It's much simpler. It's about 20, well, it's about 208 millimeters. So it's 208. So now I have to decide how many marks do I want around there. If I do 10, then I'd have to do every approximately 21 millimeters. Okay, if I do 20, it'd have to be every 10 millimeters. So I don't care. Let's do, in fact, one way to make it a little easier, if say I want to do 10 or 20, say I want to do 20, I could cut this in half or fold it in half. And that's 104. So I could do 104 divided by, let's say, 10, and then mark on both sides, and I'd have 20 marks equally spaced. So let's do it that way. Should be 104. Let's check and make sure. Yep, 104. So if I do 10, I'll do 1. So if I do 20 marks, 1 about every 10. So mark it every about 10. Maybe just a little bit over. Yeah, that's good enough. And now mark them on the other side so that they correspond. So let's see here. I'll just go here, here, here. It might have been easier to mark it on the ruler to start with, but this seemed like a good idea at the time. This is about as bad as drilling. It's so boring. Let's see here. This is about there. Okay. Oh, there's one more. There we go. So now you just transfer it over to here. Now usually I tape this on and I put the marks in. So I'll just put a mark here, here, here. Since I don't have tape here, I think I'll quit in a minute here because you get the idea of how this works. Okay. Now what I'll do is just get this tool rest up here and make marks across. So I'll mark here. Start here. I won't mark them all because, but you get the idea. You mark all the way around. Okay, so if you're good with hand chisels, you can just put grooves in, but I can't do that. So here's what I do. Okay, so I have this little platform. It's just a post fastened to a piece of wood, just bolted on. So put this up against here. And then I will use a rotary tool. I guess it'll go here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide this along so that I'll have a straight line. Okay? So I'll turn this on. And I'll hold this steady. And that sounds about the way I feel about it, too. Okay, so you see the idea. You just go around and put the grooves in. And you can get them fairly straight. I didn't do a great job there, but you get the idea. You go around, put them all in. And that's not a bad space, and you could have them closer together than that if you want. That was with 20. Okay, so questions about that part? Okay, so now what you have to do is drill it out, same diameter as you used before. Question? Oh. So now you have to drill it out with the same diameter before, but you know how to drill, so I'm not gonna do that. And then I have to part it off here and here. And again, when you part it, make sure that you use a tool rest. So use a skew to make sure you don't tear out the fibers, at least to get started. And then using the parting tool, which seems to have, oh, there it is. you can go ahead and part this off. Clean up the end. Of course, there'll be a hole in it, so you don't have very far to clean up, but you have a nice surface there. Part off the other side, and you're basically done with this, with the ferrule. I'm not going to part it off because you know how to part it off. Well, which part? This thing takes about 4 hours, I think. Yeah, and I did. This isn't solid plastic. This is solid on the outside, but inside it's only about 20% filled. So it's honeycombed inside. So if I did it solid, it would take in 24 hours maybe or something. It's slow. But you go away and leave it. So it's not like you're doing it. It's just you start it and you go. Okay. At this point, you've got a rough edge over here, so you can just kind of sand it and make it smooth. One edge is going to be, I didn't get that very symmetric. Oh well. Well, maybe it isn't bad. Anyway, one edge the eraser will fit in, the other edge will go into the main part of the pencil. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. One more thing I should have done. I'll put it back on. Sorry. So you have a choice. If you make this piece first, the ferrule first, you can make this diameter whatever you want. This outside diameter, you've got the inside 1.5 inches for mine. Make the outside whatever you want, and then you fit this. Or you can make this one first, and then you have to fit inside. It's easier, I think, to fit a tenon than it is an inset like this, for me. But you can do it either way. So if I were making one of these and I'd already made the hexagonal part, I'd have to fit this. So I'd have to make this indentation in here. Okay, I'm not going to do that unless you want to see me do that, but I don't think there's much point. You know how to do that. Okay. So one more step. So once that's parted off, and it's hollow and you have the inset here, then you make the eraser. And again, I usually use 2 2x4s glued together to make the eraser, but I've been having trouble with them cracking. So I'm just going to use maple again. So I'll mark it again for center. And I guess I better get this off. There we go. Let's see. Point. All right, so I'll make it round. Same step as before. Make it round, put a tenon on it. good enough. Tin in. Okay, now I'm going to mount it on a chuck. Okay, so actually it's eraser. It reminds me of something I read in the paper. They dug up Beethoven's grave, and when they opened up the casket, there he was with an eraser, and he was erasing all these notes. They said, well, what are you doing? He says, I'm decomposing. Okay, so I'm going to make the eraser. So first thing, I'm going to get nice and round, true it up. So what I want to do is, so I have my ferrule here. I want it so it'll fit in here fairly tight. So that's going to be the lid. It'll come off with the eraser. It'll just pop off. So I need to first make a tin in here, a good fit. Okay? So I use the parting tool. Maybe I should true it up a bit first. Make a nice straight edge on here. Okay, that's not bad. Let's see if I'm about right there. Nope, got a ways to go. I don't like to measure things. That's why I don't measure these things. I just kind of eyeball them. Now you want to make sure you fit the right end. You don't want to fit the big hole. You want to fit the small hole. Okay, so I put a little chamfer on the end there, so I see about where I need it. Oh, real close. Just a little bit too tight. Thank you. Pretty good, but it's a little bit tight right at the end. So I have it angled a little bit there. Okay, that's pretty good. Now, one thing that's kind of important with this is you want to make sure you get a tight-fitting lid. If you don't have a tight-fitting lid, what will happen is you'll put the eraser in, the pencil's sitting there, it just comes down a little bit. So you have a little gap here, and it's tight against down there. It just doesn't look quite right. I made some of these pencils, and I had them for sale, and I noticed when they were sitting out that they were starting to do that. So the wood will give a little bit. So what I do now is, let's go overhead. I put 2 holes here, and I don't know if I can balance it. There it is. And I have these magnets. These are 5/16 inch magnets. So I put one here, one here. Okay, I glue them in. So one here and one there. Now, you have to be careful doing this because when you're doing it, the magnets want to fly around and do stuff. So what happened to me once, this one, is I did that, and okay, so it fits fine. Go over here, and what's it do? It rejects it. So that means if I do an eraser to fit it, I've got to have one north pole, one south pole showing, which means that if you have it 180 degrees off, it's going to come off instead of go on. So the thing to do is, what I do now is I glue this one, stick one in. I take a stack of them like this, and I see which way it attracts it, and I go around and I put the other one in. Okay? Before I was saying, okay, this one's going this way, that one's going that way, so I put a black mark on it, and thought I knew what I was doing, and I got it backwards on that one. So anyway, the simple way, though, is put one in, take your stack, make sure it's attracting, then go around, stick it in there. You'll get it right then. Okay, so anyway. So what I often do then, or what I do then is at this point or at some point along the line here, I'll drill 2 holes here, 5/16 inch holes to mount the magnets. Now, you might say, well, why use 2 magnets? Just use one, because that'll hold it in place. So I tried that. It works fine, except for it sticks here, it pulls real hard here, and it pulls out on the other side. So I gained nothing from that. So now I'm using 2 holes. Or you don't have to use any holes at all. If you don't use any holes, make your tenon longer than that, make a good tight fit, and just hope that humidity doesn't change it so it's loose. Okay, so now I have to make the shape of an eraser, and that's the next step. So all I'm going to do, let's see, maybe I better make it the right diameter first. Let's see, I need to take a little bit off, because it should, right now it's about the same diameter as the ferrule. It should be in a little ways. If you look at an eraser, it's always a little less diameter than the ferrule because it goes down inside. So I am just going to take off a little more here. And let's see how it looks. I think it needs a little more off. What do you think? Looks like about the same diameter there. So let's just take a little more off. Maybe I'll use this. Yeah, maybe I won't because I have to raise it. Use this guy. Okay, that's pretty good. It's a little bit smaller. So now, I'm just going to use the spindle gouge and make an eraser shape. So it'll come up straight a little bit, then it'll start curving down. Okay, so that's good. At this point, probably want to sand it. I'm looking at the monitor there and I'm seeing spots on this, but I realize the spots are on the screen, not on this. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the eraser eventually, oh, here they are, is put these flats in it. So you don't have to worry about this stuff up here that this part here doesn't matter because I'm going to put flats on anyway. So all I have to do is part it off. And sand those flats on. Okay, so there's what it looks like. So now I just have to sand these flats on it. So if you have a belt sander or disc sander or something, you can use that. If you don't, you can make one easily. And I'll show you how here. Okay, so I have a sanding, where did I put it? Oh, right here, sanding disc. So I just bought this on Amazon or something. Or you can use a piece of wood and true it up. But this is nice because it already has the Velcro on. I took a bolt and I took this wooden piece, put the threads in so I could thread it here, and I just threaded it. Drilled a hole, put the bolt in, the bolt to fit the threads, and I have a sander. Get this out of here so I don't hurt myself, or at least I'm less likely to hurt myself. Okay, so now all I have to do is just sand this. I put 80 grit on this so it'd go faster, but you can use finer if you want. I'll just put random marks in here. I burn it there a little bit, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be painted. Now you can make this any size you want because if you look at a pencil after it's been used, the eraser could be long, it could be short. So whatever length of wood you have, you can use for an eraser. Yeah, I make plenty of mistakes, so. Okay, so anyway, you do that, paint it, put your magnets in, you've got a pencil. Let's see, what else do I want to say about that? Yeah, paint. Beth Ireland uses milk paint. I think it looks better to use spray paint, and here's what I use. Can you get a shot from in front, then you can see what I'm using. These are all from Home Depot. I use that for the ferrule, this for the pencil, and that for the eraser. The only trouble with the spray paint is it seems it's kind of thin, and I want to put it on too heavy, so it tends to drip, so you have to be kind of careful about that. On some erasers, I've used acrylic paint, and it does okay, but it's not quite as nice for a finish as the spray paint. So are there any questions?
What's your selling price?
$25. You want one? I'll sell you two for $50.
This one's kind of short. Do I get a discount?
Yeah, I'll sell that one for $30. Other questions? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that. At some point, you have to put number 2 on it, or whatever you want to write on there. You could put, like if you're doing it for your grandkid or something, or your kid, you could put their name on it. So I use a stencil, and guess where I get the stencil? 3D print it, yeah. So where can you see that? Right here? Okay, so I just printed this stencil out. I put it there, I tape it on, and I didn't bring tape, or I'd actually do this. And then I use just a Sharpie and just fill it in. And if you're good at, I'm not good at printing, but if you're good at printing, you don't need the stencil. Or you could just probably buy a stencil, probably at Michael's or something. They'd have one where you could put the N and the O. Or you could put 2HB, or, look at, they say different things on different pencils. But I just put number 2 on them. If I wrote it in cursive, nobody could read it. Other questions? Okay, that's how you make a pencil.